Joshua, and I am the president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, Chicago Southside Branch. Welcome to Conversations with the Candidates, a candidates forum sponsored by the NAACP Southside Branch, the Alpha Mu Omega and Chi Omega Chi Omega chapters of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Also, thank you to Green Grove Missionary Baptist Church and Pastor Terrell Carter for hosting this forum. As the nation's oldest civil rights organization, the NAACP is committed to educating our community to ensure that Black voters are engaged in the political process and to vote in every election. To that end, the Southside branch of the NAACP invited candidates in the June 28th election to a conversation to discuss their qualifications for office in which they are running. The topic of the conversations will focus on the NAACP game changers in the areas of health, civil rights, education, economic development, environment and climate justice, and voting rights. These are the issues that have the most disparate impact on Black communities. So it is important where candidates stand on these issues. I will now turn the program over to the moderator, Pam Sanger, to introduce the interviewer and the candidate.
Thank you, Madam President. Actually, we have Ms. Carolyn Hankins will be doing the moderation for this particular interview.
Thank you, Pam. I think I can project my voice loud enough for everyone. I really don't need the mic.
For recording.
Okay, for recording. Okay. It's going to sound even louder. Okay. Thank you, President Rose Joshua. Good morning, everyone, here at Green Grove Missionary Baptist Church. My name is Carolyn Hankins Page. I am the branch secretary and AXO chair of the Chicago West Side branch of the NAACP. I am also the Connections / Social Action Committee chair and past president of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Lambda Mu Omega chapter, and a member of the Chicago West Side NAACP branch. Our second conversation today is with Cook County Board President candidate Richard Boykin. Mr. Boykin was raised in Inglewood and has been a practicing attorney for 20 years. He was a Cook County Commissioner for the 1st District from 2014 until 2018, and currently owns Bridge Builders Consulting and Legal Services. Interviewing Mr. Boykin is Louis Charles Raymond. Mr. Raymond is an attorney, political strategist, lobbyist, and law professor. He is also a Navy veteran, serving in Iraq, Afghanistan, and chasing pirates in Somalia. Let's welcome Mr. Boykin and Mr. Raymond.
Well, first I want to say it's an honor to sit down and talk to you. I'm trying to figure out which way I can say this, but I say Attorney Boykin. I know you understand you're a candidate for the Cook County Board President, but if you don't mind, I still want to call you Commissioner.
That's
because
fine.
you were the Commissioner, you were on the Board of Commissioners for the Cook County Board, correct? And the other thing I want to say is fun is because we're sitting here with two black men, attorneys, who grew up right here in Inglewood.
Absolutely.
So you are, as we say, a rose that grew in the concrete. And so it's a pleasure to sit here with you. So starting off, please tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank the NAACP. Let me thank the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and all the others who participated in this. Let me thank the pastor of this great church. Thank God for giving us all the opportunity to be here today. And thank God for each and every one of you who decided to take time out your busy schedule to be here today. I grew up right here in Inglewood. I grew up at 68th and Halsted, not far from here. I went to D.S. Wentworth Elementary School. It was one of those schools that was closed. And then I went to Chicago Vocational High School. Then I went off to Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio. And then I got my law degree from the University of Dayton School of Law. I went to Washington, worked for 3 members of Congress over a 13-year period. I served as Chief of Staff to Congressman Danny Davis for almost 10 years. I served for former Senator Carol Mosley Braun, and then I served for Congressman Bobby Rush, who represents this area. And so, got elected to the county board in 2014, had a great run at the county board. I'm the guy who led the effort to get rid of the soda pop tax, the regressive soda pop tax. Also got rid of the tax on feminine hygiene products for women. Also put a position in county government that's still there today to deal with nothing but sexual harassment complaints at the county. I also banned county law enforcement from choking people when they arrest them. And so we did a lot. I gave back $40,000 of my own salary when I was a member of the county board because people were hurting, and the president said that we needed that soda pop tax, and I said we didn't need it, but I wanted to have some shared sacrifice. And so I opened up my own law firm 2 years ago. Before that, I worked for 13 years as a partner at Barnes & Thornburg, a major national law firm. But honored to be here. I want to thank my friend, President Joshua, for having us and for having this conversation. And thank all of you. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for all the things you've done thus far in helping our town and our city. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you right now is health. Cook County is in charge of the health system, and it's one of their biggest responsibility. How can we improve the health system to help our community? Because one of the things that we are aware of, especially when it comes to African American community, minority community as well. So the black and brown issue is healthcare and the need to actually not only to receive health, but having the access. So how can we help increase the access among the Cook County hospitals?
So Cook County is the government that's responsible for the neediest of our citizens, the poorest of the poor. And Cook County government does primarily 2 things: public safety and public health. If you don't have health insurance, you can go to the Cook County Health and Hospital System, or to Stroger Hospital, to Provident, or to one of our network of community health centers, federally qualified community health centers, and get treatment. So let me tell you, we've had a perpetual public health crisis, at least for the last 10 years or more, and that is the issue of gun violence. Gun violence is a public health crisis that has been undealt with. It hasn't been taken care of. Quite frankly, the things that we can do to help strengthen our health in the community is, one, we can help close the health disparities that exist. Under this leadership of this president, the current president, health disparities have exacerbated. And what do I mean? I mean, African Americans suffer disproportionately from heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, prostate cancer, breast cancer, you name it, we lead the charts. What else should we do? So a child or a person growing up in Inglewood has a 30-year life expectancy gap. So from someone who's growing up in downtown Chicago or Streeterville. So what does that mean? It means that If you live downtown, you're gonna live 30 years longer than the person in Inglewood. That is a major problem, or the person who lives in Austin. We have to strengthen the physical and mental health of our folks in the community. I heard the president talk about investments in behavioral health and mental health. Those investments should have been made. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look around and you look in our communities and how devastated many of them look, many of them resemble war zones in many instances, and that's not right. I mean, there are areas in our communities that haven't been rebuilt since the '68 riots. That is not right. We have to fix it. And so what I would do is I would invest in mental health care services. I would invest in trauma care. But the difference between me and the president on this issue is I would hire a cadre of outreach workers, and I would have those outreach workers go into communities like Inglewood, like Lawndale, like Austin, communities that have been devastated by high unemployment, high poverty, high gun violence, and high hopelessness. I would have folks knock on those doors, outreach workers, and say, hey, these are the trauma services available for you. And guess what? If you're afraid to come because the stigma around mental health, we'll bring the services to you. Tell us if you want to access these services, and we will bring them to you. That we owe people. At the end of the day, hurt people hurt people. Free people free people. So we got a cycle of hurt taking place in our communities because we haven't dealt with the issues of the pain that the people are experiencing. Now let me say this about healthcare. Cook County led the 6-county region in terms of deaths from COVID-19. And when I say the 6-county region, I mean DuPage County, Lake County, Will County, McHenry County, all the counties surrounding us. We had the highest death rate from COVID-19, 1.27% death rate from COVID-19. What does that mean? It means that we're less healthy than everybody else. What else must we do on the healthcare front? We gotta end food deserts. We gotta make sure that we got full service grocery stores. We gotta make sure that we have fresh fruits and vegetables for our young people, for our senior citizens, and for others. We gotta do it. Look, we got so many vacant lots. We got vacant land. We can do this if we purpose to do it. And so that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that we bring those kinds of things to Cook County. In addition to that, the University of Wisconsin did a report, and they looked at 102 counties in the state of Illinois, and they looked at the healthcare systems, and they began to grade us on 6 areas. Do you know that Cook County ranked in 3 of the 6 categories near the bottom of the 102 counties in terms of quality of health care and that sort of thing? There was the Leapfrog group who just recently graded all of the hospitals in Illinois. They gave Cook County a C grade, an average. Last year they gave us a C. Why can't we move into a B? Why can't we move into an A? We gotta do it. And then finally, I'll say this. We got a morale issue within county government. Our employees, they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel respected. I was with SEIU Local 73 just a few days ago when they were protesting the fact that they have not received hazard pay from working COVID-19 2 years ago. This is pay that came from the federal government. This is $3,000 a person that should be given to those individuals, but they were protesting because the president's office has held up their hazard pay. Now, we called them heroes 2.5 years ago. Now they've become villains somehow. But they're still working, and we still got a pandemic going. We still got people dying. I would give them the hazard pay. That's what I would do on healthcare.
Well, I appreciate that, and that was very insightful, and I thank you for your comments. Now, I want to I'm coming back to one thing, but just kind of what you've been talking about when it comes to health. And one of the things that I've heard is one of the things that we're missing is fully understanding how we're being deprived of the service. And so in that conversation, I've had this conversation with different people, it's like we need to educate our people. Now, Cook County, true enough, is not responsible for the schools. But how could, because it's one of NAACP's pillars is education. How, as a president of Cook County, would you help educate our community, even though you don't have the school system?
So look, the state's required for funding of schools, funding of education, but as president of the county board, you have what we call a bully pulpit. And you can use your leverage as president to help spread the message of education.
Right.
To help inspire young people, those kids who are out of school and out of work and out of hope. Those kids who are out there participating in a lot of the crime that's, it's terrorizing too many of our neighborhoods. We could help inspire them. What else I would do is this, and I didn't hear the president mention this, but I would set up a jobs program for young people. I mean, we're concerned about the gun violence, the carjackings, the retail thefts, all of these things. Well, we got to get our young people into something positive, right? Idle hands are a devil's workshop. And so we got to get them into something positive. When I was growing up, they had CETA. They had the CETA program where they put people to work. Well, we can put people to work too. Chicago has one summer Chicago program for young people. Cook County has no youth employment jobs program targeting individuals who are in at-risk communities, individuals who are growing up in single-parent homes. I grew up in a single-parent home. I have 3 siblings. I know what it was like, the challenges that my mother faced raising all 3 of us and not falling into the hands of gangs and not picking up guns and fighting and stuff like that. I know those challenges. But the challenge is now you have a lot of grandparents raising grandkids. And so we got to give them we got to use the accoutrements of government to give them the resources that they need in order to survive. If we say that it takes a village to raise a child, then we have to be that village. We have to wrap our arms around the homes of all of these kids who are coming up in trying times and troubling times. We have to help them. And that's what county government ought to be doing. I'll do everything I can to work with the folks in education. I'm a collaborator, I'm a bridge builder. The name of my law firm is Bridge Builders, because that's what I do. I build bridges. And you know what it's like. I mean, you gotta work with everybody. If you wanna accomplish something, you're a military guy, so you understand, you gotta understand what the mission is, then you got to execute on the mission. The problem what we have today is that we got a lot of people who have sight, but they have no vision. You'll get that later. They have sight, but they don't have any vision. And what does the good book say? My people perish for a lack of vision. And it's a lot of black people dying, y'all. Let me tell you this. So I see somebody recording, so we're gonna get it on tape here. It's the truth. Last year, over 1,000 homicides in Cook County, 1,000 plus. The highest number in 27 years. 81% of the people killed in Cook County last year were African Americans. Most of them were African American young males. They look like me and you. And that has been happening now for the last 10 years. That trend has been going. We got to do something to help our young boys. We got to do something to help our young men. He said 2 minutes. It seemed like this thing has gone by too fast, man. Wait a minute, man. Y'all better give me some more time. I think they're taking my time, y'all. I think they cheat me on the time.
So let's move to kind of one of the biggest things that we have right now. So there's nobody who wants, and I hate to even use the phrase, but I just wanted to say it for the point of this question, that people talk about defund the police. Well, we also know that nobody in the African American community really wants you to defund the police. What we want is equity. Mm-hmm. And so we're finding that balance, trying to find that balance right now in the criminal justice where everybody doesn't need to be in jail, but everybody doesn't need to be free. So, yes, I told you it was coming. So how do you feel as president that you can help lead the charge to find that balance?
Yeah. So here's another area where me and the current president disagree. We worked together when I was a county commissioner to lower the jail population, do criminal justice reform, end cash bail for people with misdemeanors. But that's as far as I'll go. Let me tell you, when I unveil my public safety plan, and it's on my website at richardboykinforcookcounty.com, My public safety plan is there. My public health plan is there to strengthen the health of Cook County residents. Look, I had a young lady, I had a number of people who lost sons and daughters to gun violence. This lady came up to me, she showed me this phone, this picture, and she said, Commissioner, I asked the Assistant State's Attorney why. This guy was out on electronic monitoring. He had a record a mile long. He was charged with gun charges, and but yet he was out on the streets and he killed her 15-year-old son. She said, why? The Assistant State's Attorney said, that's just the way it is in Cook County. That is unacceptable. People who have gun charges ought to stay in the county jail until their trial. Now, if we got to do speedy trials, if we got to hire more judges like Chelsea, Renee Robinson, or others, then we need to hire more judges because we got to give people a speedy trial. But that person shouldn't be out on the streets. And we got to make sure that we provide the resources for people who are coming out of the county jail. And what I'm talking about is wraparound services, not just for the county jail, but for the juvenile temporary detention center where our young people come out of. And we got to make sure that they have the mental health services, that they have the job training services, and all of these things that are necessary for them not to re-offend or not to go back to that environment. I do believe in our people. I do believe that our brighter days are ahead. I believe in our people in Cook County because I'm one of those kids that they said couldn't make it. You're one of those kids that they said wouldn't make it. And guess what? We made it. And so, but for the grace of God, I could be one of those guys out there carjacking. But I got some values at a very young age in terms of God, and my mother introducing me to God in the church. And I said, I'm gonna do what I got to do to play by the rules and make sure that we succeed. And so that's what I want to do.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So we wanted to, do we still have time for one or two questions? Okay, two questions. Anybody questions? Yes, Madam President.
Now, y'all didn't limit the president to questions. Y'all ask everybody. Now, come on now. Y'all sense some unfairness here.
We got two questions. We got three. Go ahead.
And thank you, Ken.
President Joshua, thank you.
Yes. How do you legislate wraparound services? Not only do you need it in county, you need it in city and the state. That's wraparound services, in my opinion, is equal to equity.
Yeah. So let me let you guys in on a secret here. We got so many black faces in high places, but black people are dying at alarming rates in the city, in the county, and in the state. We got a black mayor, we got a black county board president, we got a black state's attorney, we got a black chief judge, we got a black public defender, we got a black lieutenant governor, we got a black secretary of state, we got a lot of black people in high positions, but black people are catching hell. Black people are at the bottom on everything, or at the lead in all the negative statistical categories.
Yes.
And you know why it is? Part of it is because we won't work together. Because we jealous of somebody else, or we got an ego, or the current board president ran for mayor, and so she don't like the mayor, and so she's not gonna work with the mayor. And guess who loses when they don't work together? All of us. All of us lose. So you gotta collaborate. So you talk about wraparound services. County's got an $8.1 billion budget. The city's got a big budget. The state's got a big budget. Everybody ought to be at that table. I didn't hear her say, now she's running away, and let me tell you this, on the defund the police movement, you do know that the county board 2 years ago voted to shift nearly 5% of the sheriff's resources from policing to social service programs. I support social service programs. That's defunding the sheriff's police. You think they appreciate that? Absolutely not. You wonder why the police show up after the fact, and way after the fact in many instances, because they don't feel appreciated. We got to do everything we can to break down the barriers that exist between the police and the community. One thing that I put forward when I was a county commissioner is I said, we got all this vacant land, we got all these dilapidated buildings, vacant lots. We ought to have a program that provides free housing to police, firefighters, teachers, paramedics, first responders who live and work in what I call endangered communities for 5 years. At the end of that 5th year, we give them a key. It does several things. It stabilizes the community when you have professionals working in that community, and it builds bridges. It's great for my teacher to understand if she lives in Inglewood what I'm going through. If she sees me at the corner store, she say, "Hey, how you doing?" "Yeah, that's my student." Or Mr. Jones, who's a police officer, you know, we see him down the street. We know they're not going to be dealing drugs on my block because Mr. Jones lives on the block. So there are a number of things that we can do in government to help ease the pain that many of our communities are facing. I hope that answers the question, Madam President.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Barbara Norman, Dr. Norman. I'm the former director of OB-GYN over at Cook County Hospital, the old Cook County. I was there at the time we delivered 400 or 500 babies a day. During my career, probably delivered 4,000 or 5,000 babies, and many of them like the second generation of those mothers that I worked with when I was younger. My question is this: as we talking about money and infrastructure and building, violence is a learned behavior. All the babies I worked with, that 1,000 babies, I never seen a baby born with a gun in his or her hands. When I made rounds around the county, when I knew babies, when I worked with them, when I watched them in the nursery in their little bitty cribs, little pink blankets, little blue blankets, and mostly then was our African American mothers because mothers could not just go everywhere. And I used to look at that nursery, these new babies, and I would just say to myself, this is about the only time that all of you in these little cribs are receiving some equitable care and services. Because once those children go home into their community, the resources are not there. We spend more money to incarcerate young men and women in jail. It's probably one of our biggest industry with our people. Why can we not reverse those dollars and put it at the beginning, at the time we used to have the infant mortality program, we had all the neighborhood health center, we had the mother baby WIC program, we had mothers and staff going out into these homes when these mothers have babies that are low birth weight. We were doing assessment on those babies. We would put money at the beginning so that you can decrease the child's choices as far as doing negative things and increase the parents in order to have strength. Now the county, I know they had changed the name, bless his heart, John Stroger. I was there during the day with George Dunn. So why can't we just, sometimes old things are still work. So all of this not working together, all of this not, we must, in your role, and I work with you too, when you come over to Liberty, and what is it or how can or what can we help you and others in these positions redirect those resources to put the focus on the prevention, decrease some of this criminal behavior. You cannot legislate behavior. All these mothers cannot be out here with these children. So how do we got to prevent them from warning at the beginning? What do you suggest? I've heard you get that before. So.
I thank you, one, for your service, and thank you for all that you stand for. And what I'll say is it comes down to leadership. It comes down to leadership. John Stroger was a pretty good leader. He understood how to get it done. And, and it comes down to caring about people and caring about your community. The county board and the president approved it 3 weeks ago, voted themselves a 10% pay increase. She didn't talk about that here. They voted themselves a 10% pay increase 3 weeks ago, and a 3% annual increase on top of that. She said she wouldn't do the gas tax suspension. I asked her to suspend the gas tax. It's 10 cents on the gallon from the county side.
Right.
It's $1.17, the entire state, federal, county, and city tax. $1.17. So when you see $6 a gallon out there, you take off $1.17 off every, so it's about $5. Yes, and she said that those pennies wouldn't save people. Well, when she came in 2010, she campaigned against President Stroger because he raise the penny sales tax. She said she will reverse the penny. She took 2 years to do it. She brought the penny back and then some. She brought back that sugar tax and all of that. Hey, let me tell you, we've become an island of taxation. People are leaving Cook County. Last year, 90,000 people, according to the Census Bureau, left Cook County. The number one reason that they cite, high taxation. Property taxes, some of the highest in the country. Highest sales tax in the nation, right here in Cook County. We gotta have better leadership. That's what I'll say to you. Thank you all so much. God bless everybody. Keep me in your prayers. And please, whatever you do, go out and vote. And I'm asking you to punch 102 for Richard Boykin. Thank you so much. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Boykin. As a retired Chicago police detective, I thank you for those words. And thank you, Mr. Raymond. We hope the audience found this conversation to be useful in deciding which candidate to vote for in the Cook County Board President's race. Secondly, membership is the lifeblood of the NAACP. If you would like to join the NAACP Southside branch, please visit their website at naacpcss.org. You may join for as little as $35 per year. We also invite you to our monthly general meetings held every third Saturday of the month via Zoom. You may also find the Zoom information on our website, naacpcss.org. We are not done for the day. Please join us for our interview, followed by Carrie Steele running for assessor at 11:30. So it's coming up soon.